I tell a lot of my clients, like, oh, we're only getting 20 views, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, we're only getting 20 views, but that's 20 views that we didn't have before. So let's optimize, let's see how we can change it and continue to post and get through that brick wall, like get through it. Because, Mr. Beast has said himself on countless interviews that, his first, like, what, 20 or some odd YouTube videos that he did that were bad, he learned the most from. And that's what I think that people should know out there is, like, don't be demoralized by how bad a video does. Learn from it.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of the Taja My YouTube Hacks podcast. Today we have Marco. He's got a wealth of experience. Started his career in the sporting days, covering NASCAR and Notre Dame's football team from the digital side, bridged all the way into YouTube, and he's got some amazing tips today. He's really got a amazing take on how to stay consistent and have quality content as a young YouTube creator. So please stick around, watch the episode, and hope you enjoy it. Marco, we do know that you recently started using Taja a couple weeks ago. So glad that you're on this episode. And so would love for you to just give the audience a little background into yourself.
Yeah, no. So, I've pretty much my whole career has pretty much been in sports, guys. So, like, started off working in football operations for the Texans back in the day when Deshaun Watson, when Hopkins was there, and JJ and all those guys were there, and was like, no, I can't do operations, man. Those guys are just another breed of monsters, like the scheduling, all that type of stuff. So, I found my footing in digital, social and digital. I always thought I was very funny, self-proclaimed, funniest guy in the room, which usually means you're not the funniest guy in the room. But social and digital, I would always, like, tweet. I would always, talk about different things. And, I'm going to call this Twitter because I'm still against the whole X thing. So I don't know if you need to beat me out, but I love Twitter. That's like my favorite platform. And what it's become now has been really sad. But besides that, it was the hot stuff. Like, you could potentially get like a tweet from Steph Curry randomly, like way back in the day. But I started there, and then I worked my way up to Notre Dame football. Worked for them for about maybe a season or two, really specifically working on their network that they were trying to launch called Watch ND. And then when that kind of, I'm a Texas boy, so the cold was not my friend, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I remember stepping outside one night. It was so cold, and my nose started bleeding, and I was like, this might be it. Like, I think I'm done. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, what's going on? So, kind of went to warmer climates. Moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, to work with ESPN and the SEC network, doing more marketing stuff, less of the social digital, and really didn't enjoy it, and tried to you know found my lane at a sports agency called Wasserman, and was really brought in with open arms to use my expertise, run social and digital. I was on the NASCAR account, so I was working with, like, Dale Jr. Nationwide was the client, and really going to the races pretty much every single weekend, tweeting about them, doing live posts. And that's kind of where I was like, man, this is really cool. Like, being able to cover it and give people who are at home a different perspective of the game outside of what's on TV. And then did that for a couple of years, kind of cut my teeth there. And then, like anything else, man, the world shut down. Pandemic hit, and started kind of look at the writing on the wall, and wanted to kind of get back in NASCAR somehow. Went to the team side, most recently, working for Stewart-Haas Racing, and that's kind of where I kind of fell in love with YouTube. It was one of the things that was lacking at the organization, and thought I could really come in and try some new things. Tested a bunch of things. Man, if I had Taja back when in Stewart-Haas when we were first starting YouTube, I could only imagine where it would have been, being able to use that type of technology. And then decided, like anything, sports, let's be real, doesn't pay very well. So I wanted to kind of go on my own, and I used a lot of my contacts that I got across sports and the agency and all these things, and run my own successful social media business from my home in Charlotte, North Carolina now. And that's where we are now, and got introduced to Taja, and it's been awesome.
From starting digital way back and then seeing this stuff grow, I'm just curious, could you take us back to that bridging into YouTube? What did you see about that platform, and what's your take on how it is, how it is now?
Well, my take at the time was when I first, I was on it. Like I was like I'm in my 30s. I'm not going to tell you all my real age, but I'm in my 30s. So I grew up in that era of like the funny newscaster videos on YouTube, like the people getting hit by skateboards, like that era of YouTube. So for me, YouTube was always something that I enjoyed. And when I got to Stewart Haas, I saw an opportunity there where, we could really program it like a network, like a TV network, which funny enough is, if you read, I believe the CEO of YouTube put out his, 2024, top 2024 things he's looking forward to. And one of the ones was like making YouTube creators, I believe, be more programmatic, where it's like they're like their own networks, which makes sense. So for me, I saw that as like an opportunity for an actual team. And in the NASCAR space, there wasn't a lot of teams at that time that were doing YouTube really well. So I thought that there was something that we could really add and give our fans background. And honestly, it really just started with Shorts when Shorts was taken off. I was like, oh, well, I know when platforms, introduce new products, they want you to use them, and they'll leverage anything they can and help you get more reach if you use that new product, because they just want that information, that data, how it's using. So, we were taking a lot of our TikToks and Instagram reels and just uploading them into Shorts with different titles. And, at that time, hashtag Shorts was remember a thing, like you got to hashtag Shorts or it's not going to be seen. Like, now not so much, but for me, I saw it as an opportunity to give fans and give like anybody a look into a sport where a lot of people don't understand. I think it's a lot of misunderstood. I think they just came up with that Netflix show. I believe it's called NASCAR Full Speed,
Mm.
which, which is kind of stuff that we were trying to do at Stewart Haas with backgrounds on pit crews, some trying to do driver stuff. So it's really, really cool to see how the platform has changed and how a lot of teams and a lot of brands are using it now as essentially like their network. Like they're programming every Monday, 7 p.m. new episode of this, or even creators. Obviously Mr. Beast is the god, but everyone else that you see, you're like, wow, this is really good stuff. Foodies, all those people.
No, very cool, very cool. And it sounds like, a big thing for you is like whenever something's new, when a platform introduces something new, do you always try something new when a platform releases it? Or do you kind of hedge your bets? Because that's also something that, we've seen whenever platforms release something new, usually, especially if it's monetized, the ones that take advantage of it early usually are the ones that cash in the most. So
Yeah,
curious
no,
your take on like how often, whenever a platform releases something new, do you use it versus do you hedge your bet and like pick your poison on what new features you're going to use?
so the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I see a platform release a new product, and this is coming from, the where I have a lot of clients right now, is does it fit for the client that I'm doing it for? That's my number one thing. Like if it's like if it's a new product that talks about like lip syncing or something, that's not necessarily every single one of my clients is going to be perfect for that. So that's always the first border that I cross with them is like, okay, there's this new product, or they just released this new type of whatever it is with Instagram or anybody. Now I'm going to say, can I use that in a way that projects the brand in a fun way and doesn't get away from what the brand is? Because I'm a firm believer that if you're, I like to call it trend jacking. I think you guys have probably heard that too, where if you're just, for example, if you're like Under Armour, right? And then there's a new product that talks about like singing and dancing in the office, right? I don't think that's a good fit. I don't think that's something that I would do if I was running Under Armour. But if I was doing like a creator or an artist that wanted to be, wanted to get their Spotify numbers up, or, you know, essentially finding that medium where it makes sense. Because if you trend jack and let's say that you get like 4,000 people to join your channel, then the next post or the next couple of posts you're going to see, they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, this wasn't what they were doing. Like they just did that just to do that, just to get followers, and that's fine. But then the possibility of that person or multiple people leaving after you continue to post like you were before, or trying to do a new product and it just doesn't, a new social product, it just doesn't like it does well for you, but then you lose a ton of followers because you used it the wrong way, then, is it really worth it? And that's typically how my brain thinks about it when like you see these new releases, these new things. Like, but you guys know, like whenever uh TikTok became hot on the scene, it was like the hot thing. Then what did Instagram do? They're like, oh, well, Instagram Reels will turn IGTV to Instagram Reels. And then, oh, well, YouTube was like, well, wait, we can do this too. People don't have to just be long form creators. They now can be short form creators. And, so you see that. And for me, a product like Shorts or on YouTube, that's universal. So yes, I'm going to try that 100%. But if it's something that's really specific for like a brand, like for example, with any of my brands, I don't really use broadcast channels on Instagram. Like I have no reason to yet until somebody comes along that wants to work with it, that it seems like it's a good fit.
Got it. Marco, do you have any advice on trying to figure out, okay, do you double down on certain platforms or try and use all of them? How do you kind of think through just the, trying to be everywhere or be in
Oh
one
yeah.
lane?
So I always tell my clients, especially ones that are just starting out, let's start with one. Let's get one really down good. Let's use it for 2 or 3 months, and then let's grow to the next one, right? So, it's also depending per person or per creator, per brand. For example, if you want to do unboxings, oh, go to YouTube first, and then maybe go to Instagram because you want to get that YouTube consistency up. To be a regular poster, because you can't, from what my experience with YouTube, you can't just stop posting for a month and then you can post another video and expect it to do well, unless you're like a big wig, unless if your fans know. I think what might be that CoffeeZilla guy, I think he does like bi-weekly, not bi-weekly, but he doesn't do them frequently because he's doing a ton of research and stuff like that. So unless you're that type of creator, I really do believe, to answer your question, that it's per case basis. But like I always tell my clients, let's see what you talk about. What is your brand? Okay, so based on what I know, I think this platform would probably be best for you to start off with, and then let's go across the board then, right? And most of the times it's going to be, hey, let's start with Instagram, let's get it consistent, or let's start with Instagram and YouTube if there's extra help, or if it's not just me, and let's get those two in singularity so that we know that we're at least growing, and then if we need to, we can start laddering and other things in. But that's typically how I think of that process.
But one thing I want to do is like we kind of dove into YouTube. I'd love to just go into one of your clients because he's one of my favorite actors. So I know that you work with Vince Vaughn. Could you kind of talk about how you built that relationship and how you started managing profile clients like Vince?
Well, yeah. So Vince, I don't talk to very, very much, if anything at all, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm part of the Audiorama team right now, which is, founders are Greg Olson, Vince Vaughn, and Ryan Khalil. But one of the things that, Vince was involved in was that he bought this, or not bought, I believe he produced it, if I'm not mistaken, this show called Undeniable that ran on DirecTV when channel when DirecTV was trying to do like just regular programming, like outside of just providing cable. And it was Undeniable with Joe Buck, and it was a ton of episodes of Joe Buck talking to some like really, really big people, like really big people. We're talking the best in sports. And I think it was maybe about 2 or 3 years old, if I'm not mistaken, something to that effect. And it was just kept in the hopper. Like there was really nothing that we could do with it. And then we were doing other shows at the time at Audiorama, and then with this past November, with YouTube, we were like, man, we got to keep this YouTube alive. A lot of our shows had kind of sunset, and things had kind of, not run its course, but like, shows are seasonal. So you have this big gap of time where you're like, what do I do? I can't just keep on using same shorts from different episodes to try to keep this channel, pumping. So, with the heads up and with the bosses there, they decided, hey, let's start putting out these undeniable episodes on YouTube as just a test and see what happens. And at that time, the channel was monetized, because we had worked a lot with You Think and all the different shows that Greg had been involved in to get the channel kind of at least to that point of monetization. And we started in early November, or mid to late early November, and it just took off like wildfire. We used the right tags. Obviously, I don't want to make light of anything, but Bob Knight had passed away, and we had a Bob Knight episode, and we were going to push it out more closer to college basketball March Madness. But now with him passing away, we saw, hey, maybe this would be a good interview to post out, and that was one of the first ones that really took off like wildfire. And it taught me that, like, as much as YouTube is a platform that you can catch something in 6 months, and I know you said that too. It's like you could an episode, I mean, an episode or a video could take off 6 months later from 100 views to 100,000, and you don't, it could be a topic or it could be something that happens. And with Bob Knight, it obviously it just passed. It was hot in the news, and pushing it out on YouTube, and it just proved that YouTube is just as much a topic platform as anything else. And we were like, oh, well, let's start posting these episodes based on what's going on in the sports calendar. So NFL, we just wrapped up our Super Bowl guys that were some of the episodes that we had. Now we're moving on to baseball and other people that are that are interviews, and because of Vince buying, or at least producing and having that in the hopper, he helped 100% by giving us the green light to get it going and make the channel profitable, which has been great.
It is fascinating how those moments can really just kick off a channel where there's no looking back. Would you mind just talking us through, after that stuff starts to take off, what does kind of the day-to-day look like in terms of managing that channel, keeping the momentum going?
So I think we had 80 episodes total. So it was about, I think, around 2 seasons. So we were like, okay, let's just test the waters. Let's put out 12. Let's put out 12 before December and see what happens. And then after that Bob Knight episode hit, we were like, well, wait a minute. Oh, let's go. So then now it became, a full-time job, because, I think around that time, if I'm not mistaken, Shorts or the YouTube had released the related video feature, where it would essentially connect your long form to your short form video from that video, right? So then it became a full-time job where we were using, we were cutting shorts. We were making sure that we at least maybe got 5 to 6 or 7 really, really good ones, tied them to the video to see if there was any correlation between, somebody seeing the short to getting to the long form video. And we saw a lot of that. So, it became like, oh, all right, so if we're going to do 12 by December, can we start doing them daily? And it became a daily thing. So we would put one long form out at like 6 o'clock, then another short form, so like a 2 to 3 minute sector from that video into out to, and then 2 more short form videos sections from the long form video to go out the following day. And then we just had that cadence where it was like every day. The main episode 6:30, the secondary clip 8:30, the next morning 10 a.m. 12 p.m. And it's like that, still going like that from December to now. So it's been, you know what I mean? The things have been moving, and that has been the cadence where we just want to continue to push and push and push, and obviously still give it room to breathe by, separating the hours and stuff. But, with this, we were like, let's just get it all out there and let YouTube kind of do its thing. And, as things arise and as the calendars change, like, we would hope that, some of these people would pick up on search. So for example, this weekend, Daytona 500, we had Jeff Gordon a couple months ago. So we were trying to repurpose some old stuff that maybe we didn't squeeze enough juice out of that lemon to put more stuff out. We have a Dale Jr. with Kyle Busch and a Greg interview that we're pushing out again. You know what I mean? So trying to find those heat moments that we know a lot of people are going to be searching Dale Jr. or Kyle Busch or Jeff Gordon, because those are so big names, and we have content to feed them that, which is awesome.
Yeah, very, very cool. And one thing I want to double click on is from a short standpoint, the connection between shorts and long form. Many creators, some of them just post shorts and don't do long form, while others do long form without shorts, or and then there's some in your case that connect the both. Curious to know, like, is there any best practice for that in terms of effectively growing a channel from subscriber count, and then also from a monetization count? Like, is there a best practice out of the 3 tiers that we went through, of just creating shorts, just creating long form, and then doing long form and shorts? Do you see anything in terms of channel performance and like what you would say a best practice for a young YouTuber is gonna to start with in terms of growing the channel and also monetizing it?
Yeah, so I've been lucky that I have a lot of not a lot, but a few YouTube clients where it's different across the board. So I've been able to see almost the three different things you're talking about, right? And one of my clients, it's just shorts. That's it, because we don't have the ability just yet to put long form stuff together, right? So what I've seen from that account is the shorts and using them, essentially pushing one out at least a day has been beneficial to growing the subscriber count, but and the view count, right? But the the growth is a little bit slower. It's a little bit slower, but it's going to tick up. It's going to be like a slow drip of water. So if you want to just be a shorts creator, that's fine, but come in knowing that you have to find a really, really good niche and have to really nail your content early on to become, monetized just by that. Because you need something else to carry the weight of, something taking off. So that leads to like another client, like the client Audiorama that I work with. We had a mix of both, and we saw that the growth potential on those was so much higher, where you have the shorts, but you also have the long form going out. When we first started out, maybe twice, if not three times a week, and you can see one feeding the other. Like something takes off on one interview, and you get 100,000 views you've never gotten before, and then you see the subscriber jump, and then that also helps your total public watch hours to get to that monetization, right? I find, just based on what I know, and working with a ton of different types of creators and clients of mine, that becoming a only shorts creator is hard, and it's very hard to get to that monetization because of that. I think it's 4 million you have to get, like
I think it's
the
10
threshold.
million.
10 million, yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
it's 10 million. So that threshold, I mean, like I said, you have to have an influencer that you work with that can help push your channel to get to that point so that people can watch your videos. But the best practice for me, would say to really have, if you can, try to do both. And kind of, it's kind of ladder into this, but if you're a new YouTuber, a faceless YouTube channel may not be a bad test. Using products like Taja or just AI in general, where you could do stock footage. I think I don't know when this is going out, but like, did you guys see that? ChatGPT, those guys came out with that video AI, which is nuts. A whole
Yes,
minute,
bro.
and you could be like tigers playing in the snow, and it looks like a 4K person. They used a 4K camera to shoot it. Like, I think the opportunity now and would be like, or I would say to people as a best practice is, find that niche. And if you do it, I mean, hit the ground running, use every available resource that you can, whether that be an AI script writer, if you're doing this part-time, or find, a Tasia type program to help things a little bit more seamless when it comes to the posting and the descriptions and the titles, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I, like probably you guys too, you run out of, your brain just gets tired of like, I gotta come up with another title, or man, all right, I think this is a good description. And tools like Tasia kind of help bridge the gap of like, I never thought of it that way, like to use a
Yeah.
title like that, or oh man, that's a good idea. Maybe if I just change this one little word, but I still get the chapters and the descriptions, like that's a lot of the grunt work. That's why you have these high creators that have a team of 2 editors, someone to help them, or like a social manager like me or somebody to do the other side, because
Yeah.
being the talent is what 50% of the work. The other 50% is all the back end stuff that goes into it, the tagging, the finding the right niche, the finding the right titles,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. And a best practice for me, to anyone out there for shorts, would be to, really work on your hooks. Like when you have a short, write like 10 or 15 hooks about that specific short and test them. And don't be afraid after 2 or 3 days to change the title. I feel like a lot of people out there are just like, I'm just going to set it and leave it. I've changed the titles on so many different things and saw uptick of like views and things like that. Like, don't be afraid to just be set in stone with just one title. Like if you see after a couple of days it only got like 20 views, completely flip the script and maybe go to one of your other hooks and be like, I like this one better. It's a little bit more aggressive. And I know
Curious
Taja
to
does that
know
too with
what are
title.
yeah, and curious to know are there any like lead indicators you look at in order to know it's time to change this title, this thumbnail? Like, well, what would you say to a young YouTuber that's just getting starting out? Like, what should they look
Yeah.
at, over index on in order to know when to, make those changes?
So I usually do 2 days. 2 days if I'm not seeing like, and the great thing about YouTube analytics, it'll show you like how things are performing. So like if it's like at 2 days, it goes up and then it kind of flatlines a little bit, you're like, okay, well, something needs to change. Right. But if you start to see like it's so I mean, you guys know this too, like the YouTube algorithm is so weird in the fact that like, for example, we had a short that I posted about a month ago. I changed the title and it was at 200 views and then it jumped to 10,000. Just like what I just changed it here and there a little bit thing. Like I always try to include the person that's talking in it because it's searchability, SEO, that type of thing. But to answer your question, I usually try to say 48 to 72 hours. If things aren't kind of still peaking up, change it. You know what I mean? Like
It,
get something different.
Marco, could we just double click even further on that? Because you
Yeah.
said 48 hours in. Are you looking at predominantly views, watch time, click-through rate? Like, what are the things that are kind of factoring into that decision to stick with it or change?
So so I'm looking at the view ranking, how like if it's still kind of ticking up. So if it's still going like, oh, okay, well, I'm still ticking up, and then maybe it hits a shelf or something. When it comes to watch time, if I look at it and it says like only people are watching like the first 20 or 30 seconds of it fully, what I'll do is I'll go back to an editor, or I'll do it myself, and I'll cut the back part. I'll delete the short as a test and just cut the back part of the short up to the point where people were stopped watching because something make them stop watching there, and then I would end it there so that I know that I know just based on looking at it. Obviously, you want to do this where it's clean, right? You don't want to just stop on someone talking. But if there's something there where you see that big drop off of people stop talking, I try to go back and re-edit the short and find like a higher point to end on because it'll help that watch time because I at least know that they were tuned in for, so if it's a minute short, that first 30 seconds they were all in, and then after that 30 seconds something dropped off, and it could be like it changed interview topics or something, you know what I mean? And you're
Mhm.
just like, okay, well, people just wanted to hone in on that one piece of the topic. What can I do to re-upload it to make sure that that watch time is being maximized, because I know they were watching for that full 30 seconds for some reason based on the analytics.
And then Marco, just as we wrap up into YouTube, like just any general advice you would give to a young person that's just starting out on YouTube?
Stick with it. It gets very, guys, trust me, it's very demoralizing. You're putting out 5 videos and you get maybe 5 views, right? But YouTube is not the same as other platforms, and that's why I think it's the greatest platform that we have. One, because it's the second biggest search engine next to Google, who then owns YouTube.
Mhm.
So stick with it. I think a lot of people give up after a month or two. It's not going to be, you're not going to get the instant results you want, unless you're doing this full time and you're really, really committing, and this is like your end game. But stick with it. Like I tell a lot of my clients, like, oh, we're only getting 20 views, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, we're only getting 20 views, but that's 20 views that we didn't have before. So let's optimize, let's see how we can change it and continue to post and get through that brick wall. Like get through it, because Mr. Beast has said himself on countless interviews that his first like what 20 or some odd YouTube videos that he did that were bad, he learned the most from. And that's what I think that people should know out there is like, don't be demoralized by how bad a video does. Learn from it. Maybe
Mhm.
change your introduction the next time, or get to the point quicker, or find a specific topic that you really are passionate about and create 5 or 6 different videos and test them all out.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'll say too is, this has been beaten into me by so many of my ex bosses and people that mentors and stuff, is like testing, testing, testing. Like test everything that you can. Test the kitchen sink. Test a whole new logo. Test any thumbnails. I mean, we didn't even get to thumbnails. Like test 17 or 18 different types of thumbnails until you find one that's like, oh my gosh, this actually worked, and then repeat it. Like Mr. Beast, is always the shock face. You ever noticed that? Like he
Mhm.
said, I think he said that he's found that one and he just kind of ran with it and it helped, change the whole thing when it came to a strategy. But don't give up. It's a platform that's going to continue to grow and help small creators, niche creators, and it's lucrative. Let's be honest, guys. Like if you can get to that monetization in a year or a year and a half, or if you just have like pouring gasoline and you just want to punch out a ton of creative, it is really, really good to be on the YouTube platform for money. You can make a living off of it if you feel like that's possible and you find that right niche. It what is it? It's life changing. It really is. It changed a ton of people's lives.
Mhm. Marco, yeah, we love the transition,
Yeah.
awesome. Appreciate that, all that, that those tips for people that are new and getting started and balancing, testing everything with, consistency and all the things that you had mentioned. Just transition it to, yeah. How did you get introduced to Taja? How did you find us? Could you talk about a bit about that kind of that journey?
So I had met a person, Dom. I think you guys know Dom really well. He was using it for some of the clients that he has, and he introduced it to me and another person that was we were working with. And I just found it as a revelation. To be honest with you, I think you have all these other AI platforms that are really just focused on Instagram and TikTok, right? And being able to use the technology and the AI advancements that have happened within the last year to not simplify but to make YouTube a little bit more understandable can open the gates for so many other people that were scared to make the jump, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Like the platform itself is easy to use. There's a lot of really, really cool things. I'm pretty sure you guys are, working on more things to come soon. But one of the things that I really love is I believe it's the ability to look back at the platform gives you the ability to look at videos that are underperforming and help you actually change them. And like we had talked about a while back, is like changing titles, repurposing, trying to find something to pour some gasoline to hopefully start a fire with a video to get it going after it's been dormant for a while. I think that's a phenomenal thing, a phenomenal use of AI, along with obviously the chapter development and the description development, the title development. I would, like I said, I was introduced it, and I know I did an interview, not interview, but I spoke to you guys about it, outside of this podcast. But I really do think it's a game changer, and I can see it being used to be honest with you, be used by sports leagues. You know, what Tasia provides you is you're essentially a YouTube marketing team. You know what I mean? For any creator that's small or that needs, or like a company that's very small that needs scalability on a platform like YouTube that takes a lot of time, and like we talked about on the back end, having something like this can obviously keep costs down, but also give you some inspiration. I use it for inspiration, but also obviously I use the platform as it's intended as well. Some of the titles, some of the ways that it sets things up, you're like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about attacking it from that angle. Or oh, that's interesting because that's a highly searchable topic. I can kind of tie the two together. But overall, I can't wait to see where Tasia is in about what, a year or maybe 6 months. I'd love to hear from you guys. What you guys think practicality wise. Going to leagues or going to teams, or if you've ever even done any of that. Of that legwork, because there's a lot of value in it. And if you're a team or anyone listening to this, like, at least look into it. It can at least open up some doors.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying your experience. And yeah, we really take pride in what we do, and we dedicate a lot of time and energy into it. And so we really want to build this solution for creators to come to help them optimize their videos before they publish them to platforms, because it's a very grueling process, and creators love to primarily focus on creating content, but this is just a step that's mandatory for every platform, and it's a key step because you don't get this right, your video could have no views, even though it's good content. So we really want to help impact creators, and to your point, like a lot of young creators that are, don't have the luxury of having multiple editors on their team that can do this type of stuff. So really pushing hard, a lot of really amazing developments on the way, and a lot of nice features that customers have been asking for that we're developing and wrapping up here. So very excited to get it in your hands and be able to further enhance your experience and workflow.
One last thing I'll say is, if you're out there and you're hesitant about getting into YouTube, or just the sphere of publishing, because I've been there, like the little, like, oh my God, nobody's going to watch this. Oh my gosh, this, I'm embarrassed, like this, and this. A tool like Taja can really, 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 really take away a lot of that fear by, giving you a base to start from. And I think that's a very important thing, is at least having that one point to at least have a jumping off point, and then you can start having fun. I think
No.
that's the whole point, right? Is like having fun, putting your takes out there. Who knows? Someone like the next Stephen A. Smith could be listening to this right now, right? And just have the hottest takes, but they just don't know how to make the right titles, or make the right description, or have the right, thumbnails, or any of that stuff. And, the platform is solid, and anyone out there, just give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, Marco, thank you for coming on. Would love to just ask you one wrap-up question.
Yeah, let's do it.
For people watching this, what do you want people to take away with from, after viewing this episode?
Okay, the one thing I'll tell, because I tell this to everybody, is like, all the haters out there that don't think that YouTube is viable for them. Oh, it doesn't fit my brand, or oh, it doesn't fit my voice, or oh, it doesn't, aesthetically, like Instagram, make me look good. Take a beat, take a breath, and really, really understand that at the base of it all, YouTube is probably the best platform to be able to get your brand voice, your brand look, or creator look, creator voice, and reach a huge amount of people in what could be a 6 to 12 month span. And that is highly valuable to anybody out there, business, creator, person, whatever. That is probably the one thing that I would say is, do not sleep on the platform because you feel like you have to do long form. Oh, I feel like I have to do it every other week. If you cut shorts, if you do it the right way and you do 2 to 3 posts a week, you're fine. And you can start building that business empire that, that could possibly, change your life.
Yeah. So it sounds like, just over index on quality. Don't think you got to beat a calendar schedule just to get stuff out, and it not be quality. So over index on
100%.
quality, and turn that long form quality content into shorts that then you can, keep the YouTube algorithm knowing that you're being consistent, and that this is a channel that, really wants to grow, and advocate for why the algorithm should keep pushing you to this certain audience.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Marco. We really enjoy it, and can't thank you enough for being on. And keep using Taja, and always reach back out to us for anything of how we could improve the experience for you.
Thank you, guys. I mean, Taja's great. Like I said, you guys are doing, in my line of work, you're doing God's work, helping out all of our social media people out here, to just, try to make a platform a little bit easier.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Marco. He had a lot of great takeaways on how to build and grow your YouTube channel. Stick around, as we have more guests, more top customers that use Taja that will be on this podcast talking about their best practices to grow. Be sure to subscribe, and make sure you comment below what your key takeaway was from this episode. See you next time.